Welcome to The Unlikely Executive, the podcast for leaders who never expected to end up in charge, but are determined to do it well. I'm Barbara Carlisle, executive coach to founders, CEOs, and purpose-led leaders who want clarity, confidence, and a team that thrives. Each episode, I dive into real conversations with leaders who've navigated pressures and big decisions so that you can lead with courage, honesty, and impact. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to The Unlikely Executive. I'm Barbara Carlisle, executive coach and mentor, and this week I have the privilege of talking to Learie Gonsalves, who is the director of Blackbird Property Surveyors. Welcome, Learie.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Thanks for asking me on.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And I'm looking down because Blackbird Property Surveyors is a new baby for you. You were previously known as something else, which I knew you as. Do you want to explain to the audience in a couple of sentences what your organisation delivers to the world?
Great stuff. The organisation was called One Building Solution, which is a firm of chartered building surveyors. Had been in existence for the last 10 years. So we kind of took the opportunity on the 10-year celebration is to launch the business, Blackbird Property Surveyors. It's, dare I say, sort of redefining sort of the journey that we've been on. And there's services that we started with right at the beginning of One Building Solution, but now we've sort of tailored that and provided a more defined sort of service in terms of what we do.
Okay, and some people would say that rebranding is risky. So what made you actually go, it's the right time for us to rebrand?
Yeah. It is, but I think I'm not in the fortunate position whereby sort of the brand is, dare I say, headlines the delivery.
You're not global yet. You're not global yet.
Yeah, no, not yet. I don't know if I'm kind of running out of time, to be honest, because I'm 59, so I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll get there. But I think in essence what I'm trying to say is that we're not a Nike, we're not a Shell or anything.
Yeah.
And dominantly the business that people buy from me, or the business is Learie Gonsalves. I am the business, so to speak. So it wasn't really that risky. It wasn't really a massive risk.
Yeah.
And to be honest, what we wanted to do is get a bit closer to the property and the surveying service. Hence, the reason Blackbird Property Surveyors.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? We can think the name at the time is the right name, and then as we evolve as a business, we say actually we are property surveyors. That's what we're known as. That's what people come to Learie for.
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah.
Maximise on that.
It's essentially people are buying from the person that is selling that business, and
so it's about that classic.
It's that balance.
More like and trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so you've fessed up that you're 59, which not everybody would do that. So what do you see going forward as your ambition for your organisation? And then we can talk a little bit about unpacking who you are as an individual.
In terms of the sort of the organisation, is that sort of quite cheekily there, I said sort of running out of time to become global. In fact, really, I think the business was really centred around sort of controlling my own sort of destiny, really, and having that balance between, we always talk about that work-life balance and having control over your own destinies. In terms of sort of going forward, that it's just to continue that balance and having control over your life and what you can and what you can't do.
So many entrepreneurs and founders like yourself say something like that. It's about balance. But as an entrepreneur myself, and I've set my own business, I know that sometimes there ain't a balance, Learie.
No.
It is. And it's my fault there's no balance. It's only down to me. I can manage my time, but somehow I don't. So how have you managed to keep that balance keep that balance effectively?
Again, I think one of the things I sort of learned from one of my previous employers, it was the work-life balance was, as you can imagine, was pretty heavy there. It was quite full on in terms of working in that commercial world. And one of the things I went to a workshop, but they talked about work life and me time.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck with me. So, and that's something I've been able to do now and very conscious about doing. Don't get me wrong, at the start of doing your own business, it's very, 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 very difficult to do that. But I've slowly, particularly now with the change of the last 10 years, because we always hear about businesses flopping in the first year, the first 7 years, and whatever.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think I'm confident enough now to be able to address particularly the me time around that. And don't get me wrong, there's still days where possibly kind of pay for it. Though I say, you work at 2 o'clock in the morning, but then the next day, that's me time. I might not get up until whatever time. So it is difficult, and I know it's maybe easier said than done. But I think there's more that matters more in terms of your health and your state of mind. So you really, really do have to push for that.
Yeah, you do have to work for it, don't you? And, I know that the other director is your wife. What's it like working with your partner? Because I could not work with mine. Respect, but sorry, Alan, if you're listening.
Well, you see, it is quite strange, and dare I say, we always laugh. We always watch Dragon's Den, and we see it drives my wife absolutely up the wall when they stand there and talk about, don't they know the numbers? They don't know they don't know their profits. They don't know the difference between net and gross. Pretty much like that, to be honest. So in terms of being creative, possibly getting business or delivering, I'm pretty good with that. So there's a real balance. My wife's really good at sort of the financial side and the commercial side of the business. So we sort of fit pretty well together. And as I said, a lot of the time I spend is out on the road. So we don't have to share this together all the time. But my wife she works in HR anyway. So when I say she's a director of the business, she's not fully involved in it. She sort of directs the financial parts of the business.
Yeah, so it's not that intensity.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think she respects what I do in terms of the professional and technical side, and she adds a lot of value in terms of the commercial side of the business.
I'm sure people are really dying to know, Learie, what led to you being the director of Blackbird Property Surveyors? What's been your career journey?
I left school 1984 with no qualifications. So back then it was the CSC, wasn't it? Before it was the GCSE, So I had a grade 1 CSC in art, and I was pretty good at drawing, and I think maybe I spent too much good time at school. I didn't really apply myself. I wasn't really, dare I say, one of the brightest tools in the box. Left school and I thought, oh God, I've only got one CSC. What am I going to do now? So I sort of went back to college to do my O-levels, English, Maths and Sociology. Still pretty difficult to get a job. And I didn't have a clue what I could do at the time. All I knew I could draw. And there wasn't anything around me around that time to inspire me to follow a career. I didn't know anything about graphic design. I certainly didn't know anything about architecture, which possibly could have been a particular avenue. So after a few years, going back to college, working, doing shift work, 6 till 2, 2 to 10 in factories, working on scaffolding yards, working in the market, working in factories and whatever. I seen an opportunity come up, which was seen by my sister and brother-in-law to work for a housing association. They were taking on trainees.
All right.
And there was a sort of a community scheme, and they were taking on 3 trainees for 2 years. And I saw an opportunity. It was a service supervisor. I thought, oh, this sounds great, working for the housing service supervisor. Didn't know what it was, what it entailed.
Yeah.
But sort of fast forward, really what it was is organising and supervising caretakers around the various estates. There wasn't a lot to do, to be honest with it. Most of the time back then, it was like fetching bacon butties on a Friday from the shop, photocopying. So it's a real office junior sort of job.
Yeah.
But what they had was an in-house architect department, which he was responsible for the refurbishment of properties that the housing association acquired. He was an architect and he had a technician. He saw me photocopying and thought, "Oh, this guy, what's going on here?" So the architect Keith Horton took me under his wing. I used to go out holding a tape, measuring it, taking photographs, etc. And there was one day we were just talking about my background. I said I did art at school, and he said, "Did you do any technical drawing?" I said, "Yes, I did that as well." And he asked me if I fancied drawing up the existing plan of a terrace property. So I was surprised myself, to be honest. I drew up the existing plan. And so my responsibility then sort of changed to drawing up existing plans where Keith would do the proposed drawings. That slowly went on. And then one day he asked me if I would like to draw up the proposed plan. So I drew up the proposed plan and I did it quite well. And he said, kind of wasted. So he nabbed me from the service supervisor, and I worked under him. He sent me to, well, the organisation sent me to college where I did my ONC in building studies and my HNC. But in terms of sort of drawing, it was all learnt within the office. And then it became an architectural technician. Assistant architectural technician. Coming very close towards the end of the 2 years, became quite an integral part of the staff in terms of that. So we came very close towards the end of the 2 years. Keith kind of battled for me to have me on. We had so much work on, and he said, we need to extend this guy or give him a full-time job.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford to do that, so they put me on for another year. At which time I was sort of suitably sort of qualified. I saw an opportunity working for Leicester City Council in what was then the architects department. A job came up as an architectural technician. I applied for the job, just successfully got the job there. Worked my way up to become a senior architectural technician. Got to a bit of a crossroads in terms of where my career sort of still lied, whether I continue to work for the local authority. I had a thought about doing the architect's degree and becoming an architect, but it seemed like a very long time in terms of the course. I think it was about 7 years or something like that. And I wasn't too sure, kind of doubting myself if I had the real architectural flair or the know-how or dare I say, the brains to do that. Went through the transition still at Leicester City Council from drawing board to CAD. So I was worked really well on CAD. I took the qualification, but I thought I've got sort of an appetite for learning and became very curious in terms of the building, construction and defects and whatever. One of the guys actually in the office who was an architect did a building surveying degree. So I asked him about it and I became very interested in surveying and in terms, again, how buildings work, why they fall down, why they crack, why damp. And so I became very inquisitive about this and very curious. So I asked my boss at the time, I said, I think I'd like to do the building surveying degree. And he said to me at the time, well, you don't need building surveying to do your job. It kind of raised my eyebrows a bit on that. And I'm the kind of person, I think, particularly more in my later years, particularly after leaving school, is that when someone says to me, you can't or won't or puts walls up, then I find a way to, if I can't get over it, I'll go around it. Or
and look at you now. So it was good that you didn't listen to him.
No, I didn't.
So fast forward, and now you've been working for a long time, your own business. But there must have been challenges other than one person saying, you don't need that for your job.
In terms of getting to where I am, I never would have thought that because I think I grew up in there. It pretty much stands at the moment is that you only can be what you can see.
Absolutely.
So I came from a community or area that, didn't know anything about building surveying or architecture. When you're in a sort of an arena where they don't see many people like yourself, either from a working class background or being black, dare I say. When you're on, there's challenges around that because, I believe a lot of the time it's becoming a lot different now, but people that work in those environments, there's a bit of an acceptance around the people that they're working with or for. So that's a challenge in its own right. So to show that you are good enough and you do belong within
Yeah.
that particular arena or industry. So that in itself is a challenge. And the way I got over that is, for me, is trying to be the best I could be and forever challenging self and pushing myself to gain the qualifications or the experience. So I think you're always I don't look at them anymore as obstacles or setbacks. They're challenges.
Yeah.
And challenges that you just got to accept, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And embrace and deal with in the way that suits you. And can I ask you, so you were went into employment after school and then you chose to set up your own business 10 years ago. What were the push and pull factors there for you?
There was a few, actually. There was no single factor. And I think once I passed my degree, I went on to do the APC. And dare I say, the RICS, in terms of sitting your APC, it was very much talked about. Well, part of it was setting up your own business.
Right.
And they ask questions in your final interview about talking about setting up your business, talking about the governance. And it was almost that gave me the inkling, really, that it's something that I could do.
Yeah.
And maybe should do it later on in the future. And again, I talked about control of your own destiny and your own sort of work-life balance. And when I was working through some of these organisations, I had very little time working away from my kids, wife, and etc. So, and as well in terms of opportunities, progression, and I think some of the industry, again, is that the only way to get on really is that whether you look like someone in that organisation or have the same, dare I say, sort of business culture. A number of the businesses I worked to, and I think back at that time, again, there was a big drinking culture around the businesses. So maybe if you were into, dare I say, I don't know, for example, rugby, or if you fit in that mold of the business,
yes,
enabled you to progress. And I don't believe I was able to progress in the way that I wanted to. And again, someone said to me, another work colleague said to me, well, Learie, you're too handy with a shovel.
Too good at what you do, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of got it. So, Gabe, I thought it's pretty harsh. Like, what are you talking about? And I thought, we had a long conversation around this, and he likened it maybe into the army. If you've got somebody on the front line who's a really good paratrooper, he's never going to become a sergeant or any of that. So you're going to always keep your best people in those positions. So I was, for me, I was very technical in terms of what I was able to do. I delivered a substantial amount of fees for my position within the job. And I wasn't really a salesperson. That wasn't what I was really about. And that was maybe a lot to do with the progression of a number of people there. So I thought, well, I'll leave. And coupled together with the fact of having control of my own destiny, I can do stuff for myself, that work-life balance, those... I'm not working that hard to enable one of the partners to buy another holiday home in Marbella or something like that. I've got more control of that. So that was the real driver, really.
Yeah, brilliant. If somebody is like you and wanting to take more control, what one piece of advice would you give them?
I think learn as much as you can and be very curious, ask lots of questions. And just believe in yourself. I think that's the biggest thing, is to believe in yourself. And I think, and take advice wisely, because I listen to everything and everybody, but I take bits from it. Some of it goes over my head, and a lot of the time is to just take a bit of a pinch of salt what some people say, and just information gather and take the bits, the good bits, and believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Thank you. And the final question I want to ask you is, what do you do in your spare time when you're not founder, director of Blackbird Property Surveyors?
Yeah, but that's a great one. I've recently suffered from sort of health in terms of mental illness, and also I was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 4 years ago. Well, I had a radical prostatectomy about 4 years ago, and I thought I've been given another chance,
Right.
so to speak. So in terms of my health, as I said, I'm getting older. I've started running, now, and I've started playing pickleball.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's I know it's, as you probably know, it's a bit of a mixture between badminton and maybe slow tennis. I don't think I'm maybe a bit too old and not fit as I used to be to get around a tennis court anymore. But yeah, so
It
that's what I
worked.
do now. I go out for long runs, really great for the mind. It gets you away, keeps you fit. Those are the two things I do in my spare time now.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear about your prostate cancer, and it's great that you identified and hopefully dealt with. But thank you for
No,
sharing.
no, I've been given another chance. So I thought, yeah, well, I feel totally elated by the fact that I've come through that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
fantastic.
one of the things I do give back to trying to raise money and awareness for prostate cancer. And again, I do that through my running. So there's two things there. It gives you the awareness and also raising much needed funds
Yeah,
for investigations around that and keeps me fit.
yeah, no, wins all around. Well, thank you for spending some time with me today, Learie. I've really enjoyed hearing your stories. If people wanted to get in touch with you, how might they do that? What's the best way?
Well, the best and easiest way, I'm all over. I'm trying to keep up with modern technology and branding. You can find me on LinkedIn and most of the social medias, really.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for your time and have a great rest of the week.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot Thank you for inviting me, and all
No
the
worries.
best with the rest of the podcast.
Thanks for listening to The Unlikely Executive. If today's conversation challenged you, encouraged you, or gave you clarity about how you lead, then make sure you follow the show so that you never miss an episode. I'm Barbara Carlisle, founder of Glee Coaching. I help leaders who never expected to be in charge to show up with courage, fairness, and conviction. Until next time, lead well, stay honest, and keep doing the work that matters.